This is Good Morning San Diego.
Well, new year means new real estate laws. Here to break down the new laws of 2025 is licensed California real estate broker Mark Powell. Hi, Mark. How are you?
Good morning, Allie. How are you?
Good. So there is several new laws that could impact people, whether they're buying in 2025 or whether they own a place, whether they are landlords. Break them all down for me here.
Well, the first one of the most important ones, is buyers now need to have a written contract with their buyer's agents. And that contract is going to spell out how much the buyer is going to pay their own agent. It used to be the seller would pay the listing agent. A listing agent would split their commission with the buyer's agents. That's no longer the case. Now buyers and buyer's agents have to have a contract. That's California law. It's nationwide, but California actually put it into law. Another one is balcony inspections. Now this is kind of serious. In 2015, a group of kids, 13 of them, were in Berkeley, and they were partying on a balcony, and the balcony collapsed. Sadly, 6 of the kids died and 7 were seriously injured. So a law came up from then. Now they have to inspect balconies every 9 years. Well, there's so many balconies in San Diego and all over the state. There wasn't enough structural engineers and architects to do it, so they put in civil engineers. Now, this is also important for people that own their own house. If you have a house and it's made out of wood and you have a balcony, you may want to have it inspected at some point, because you're not immune to that collapsing itself. And you have dry rot, we have termites all over the place. That's what causes it. One other one that's pretty important is that when you're moving into a place, let's say you're going to rent a place, the landlord is now required to take photos before you move in and then after you move in, because you have problems at the end. That landlord says there was a stain on the carpet, there was a hole in the wall. You think, no, that was there when I got there. And they take money out of your security deposit, and then you end up getting in an argument and going to court. So now photos, it's going to be documented. And also contractors now. If a contractor is doing some work in your house, they should have a contractor's license if it's over $1,000. It used to be $500. They raised it to $1,000, but that's still kind of low when you think about it. Like, what is a dishwasher? Want to install a dishwasher?
Right.
That's $600 or $700. And then also domestic violence, which occurs. So if somebody's involved in a domestic violence incident and they call the police and somebody gets thrown out of the house, the landlord has to change the locks of the house within 24 hours. Now, if they don't change the locks, the tenant can change the locks. And this is where the law is really specific. If the tenant changes the locks, the landlord has to pay for it. Now, let's say you're in a house and there's 6 or 7 locks. It could be pricey. So that law is now codified. Landlord must pay or must change the locks within 24 hours and must pay. If they don't pay, the tenant can get their money back, but they give the landlord 21 days to reimburse the tenant. Those are some of the new laws. I think there's one additional one that we put on there.
Let's see. Balconies, eviction process time.
Oh, that's an important one. Okay, this is the last one, the eviction process. So let's say a person loses their job, they can't afford the rent. It used to be 3 days. They'd get a notice to quit or pay. They extended that to 5 days, but that gives the landlord, the tenant, about 5 days to call a lawyer and figure it out. Now it's 10 days, not including weekends and holidays. So it's a little bit of relief for somebody who's in a tight situation that may be facing an eviction. So you get at least 10 days now to sort all your stuff out, instead of just, hey, we're gonna get the sheriffs in there and we're gonna get you out of there.
Yeah, obviously good for people to know what all these are, because they are kind of changes for people. I think the biggest one when you're talking about buying a house in 2025 is that one that changes with the buyer representation. So now if you're just jumping into the market, that's a big shift.
Well, you know what that means? That means that not only do you have to come up with a down payment, you have to come up with enough money to pay your agent. Now, the agent can ask, or the buyer can ask the seller to pay, but the seller is under no obligation to pay. So that's something that has to be worked out. You have to negotiate it, but the fee could be anywhere from $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. Can you imagine having to pay your agent that much money? It's a lot of money, especially if you're a first-time home buyer.
All right, good things for people to know as we head into 2025. Great to see you, and wishing you a Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year.